today we had all kinds of problems, but we prevailed. So a shout out to Larry. He's the host of the room. He got it all set up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm grateful. So is Barbara.
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you all that we are going to record now. And I'm asking that everybody mute, please, except of course for Barbara. Yeah. And he'll start the recording. It started. So of course, my name is Risa Routenberg. Barbara and I, seems like yesterday, but we wrote a cookbook together for the shul. And our history is catering together for, gosh, at least 10 years, but traveling the country doing cooking demos. So this was a natural thing to do. And I thought about Barbara and Passover coming up. So I had invited her to see if she wanted to join along. So we're back again. We are going to hop around because I'm going to start it. I'm doing savory today. Barbara's doing sweet. I'm going to start, and then Barbara's going to chime in.
Max needs a
password.
password.
Necessary. He's going to take care of that. I see a chat. Yep. And then we're going to hop back and forth because after she preps the jelly roll at the beginning, she's going to set it in the oven. Then I'll come back and.
Someone just asked you for a password.
Risa or Larry, my granddaughters are getting on in
Right.
Germany,
Can Scott help her?
and
Wait,
they need a password.
Right.
hold on.
He'll do that for you.
Okay.
Okay. Where to start? So you know we're recording and we know we're on mute. When I speak, Barbara's going to handle the chat. So feel free to chat. Enter
The
things in
password
chat.
is 918
918
024.
024. Can you let her know? Scott, can you let her know?
I got it, Mom.
Thank you.
Okay.
I did, and Amy beat me
Thank you.
to it.
All right. Send it.
Awesome.
Send it to Max
Team
and
Wasser.
Sam.
They got it. Well, they'll be in soon.
All right.
All right,
So
looks
I'd
like
to
Sam
begin.
is on.
So I'd like to begin and to tell you that the recipes today were chosen very deliberately. And that is, COVID number 2. Here we go again. We know that most of us will be gathering 1 person, 2 people. Maybe we'll cook a bit more and then send some of that food over to a child's house or a relative's house. But it's mostly thinking in terms of smaller recipes, adaptable recipes, items that are easily prepped without recipes. That's how I've selected a good deal of what I've chosen to do this morning. The very first recipe, and I don't know if any of you have printed it out or want to take notes, but the very first recipe I selected is our very own favorite recipe, veggie schmaltz. Veggie schmaltz. And I got a table full of ingredients, so bear with me. Veggie schmaltz is this absolute wonderful mixture of sweet carrots chopped up, lots and lots of onions, oil. You'll see your recipe in front of you. It's got onions, carrots, veggie oil, and a lot of garlic. For a hummus, I generally use olive oil mixed with Smart Balance.
I can't see it through the orange.
You don't have to see it.
Okay.
My tech guy says I can't see it. If I tip it, I'll spill it. It's this great mixture nonetheless that smells like the real thing. You can, when you make it, you can separate the vegetable portion when you're done cooking it from the liquid and keep those vegetables. Those vegetables are fantastic in a kugel or potato, mashed potato. Imagine anything. Nothing gets to waste. We use it as a flavor enhancer. It's always there. You can either freeze it when you make it in a small plastic container, or better yet, get an ice cube container and fill little ice cubes. And then pop 1 or 2 of them out when you need it to enhance the flavor of your food. You're going to see that I am going to use it for any number of the recipes today. Just to add a little bit of flavor. That's my first recipe. After you chop up those onions really well, the carrots really well, get it all in the pot, you bring that pot to a nice rapid boil, and then you take it down, reduce it way down to a simmer. And it's gonna simmer on your stove for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's gonna smell great. Don't pull it too soon. You want that mixture to be golden brown, lots of color. You'll know when it's done. And frankly, you can't overcook it. What do we do at Passover time? You can use the margarine, which I understand this year is pretty hard to find. I don't care for the product, to be honest. I use more olive oil to compensate. So I might use regular oil, which it calls for, olive oil, and then all the veggies with that. And I like that cooked up. But if you make it for hummus, you have a lot more variety of products. You know, some of those better margarines that are out now, they work perfectly well. So that's the starter recipe because that's what I'm going to use for a lot of stuff. I have put my stuff in order today, in order of what I'm going to make, because I'm going to use some of these basic building blocks to make other things that are coming forward this morning. The next thing I want to show you is key. This we're going to see if you can get a look at. If not, I'm going to describe it anyway. Roasted vegetables. Those people who work with me at catering know we spend a lot of hours prepping vegetables for roasted vegetables. In here we prep sweet potatoes that have been sliced, mushrooms, all sorts of mushrooms, different types of mushrooms, including portobello, which we roast whole, and then we cut in smaller pieces to make this mixture. Cauliflower, zucchini, yellow squash, red pepper, green pepper, Brussels sprouts, eggplant, almost any vegetable you can imagine. Some things are sliced, some things are chunked, and they are cooked with drizzled in some olive oil and salt and pepper. When I do yellow and green squash, I put a little oregano tossed in there and some basil. The vegetables that have the least amount of flavor, I enhance with dry herbs before I roast it. You need some olive, I only use olive oil. Of course, you could use other oils. I haven't had a lot of experience with things like avocado oil, walnut oils, but I have with both olive oil and canola oil and other types of vegetable oils. You must have the oil to get it to kind of caramelize and get yummy. I have a sister who doesn't believe in any oil at all, won't use any of it. She makes her roasted vegetables without, and they're much, much drier. So you need that. Salt and pepper for certain. And I always roast one sheet pan at a time in an oven, except at synagogue, we're a little more liberal. Because if you were to put 1 or 2 or 3 sheet pans in your oven to roast, even though it's at 425, they steam. The liquid, the air, the steam from the vegetables as they cook fill the oven space, and you will never get these vegetables to get caramelized and slightly browned. They will stay mushy, and that's really not what you want. So it'll take a lot longer, but it'll be worth it. This is one of my building blocks for today. So those are 2 building block ingredients. The very first recipe I'm going to use, I put them in order. Barbara, you're going, I don't know where Barbara went. When you're ready to get your first start, let me know. I'm going to keep talking until, yeah.
I'm just trying to
No,
elevate.
someone's asking about convection oven? Absolutely, Gail.
I'm trying to elevate the computer a little bit.
Okay. A convection oven works absolutely fine. In fact, the catering ovens are all convection ovens. In the main area of the kitchen, that's what we use. Conventional, of course, works fine. Convection are fine, but I know it's tempting, but I would only do 1 sheet pan at a time. Now I'm going to give you my next building block, which is quinoa. I love quinoa. I eat it all year round. At Passover, it's such a gift because it's seed, it is not a grain. A lot of people clump it into the grain category, but it's really a seed and it's permitted. And when that happened the one year when I realized we could, I was thrilled. I make it sweet and I make it savory. I'm going to start with the sweet because I'm afraid of getting too far ahead of myself. I use it for my breakfast cereal. Let's see. Very simple. I have prepared quinoa. And to the quinoa, I add orange juice or apple juice or milk. Now I'm lactose intolerant. I don't get next to milk, but almond milk, which is readily available for the Passover season. Today, I'm going to add orange juice to my mixture. It's so fast and easy. If you prepare a nice size saucepan or pot of quinoa, you can use that quinoa all week long in all different ways. I definitely add cinnamon to taste. I don't add salt. If you're a salter, a little bit in your cereal. This is my cereal for the week, if you like. And then I have roasted a variety of nuts. In here I have walnuts, almonds, cashews. Help yourself, whatever you like. And I have taken dried apricots and I have diced them and they're going in. Now I'm going to mix it together. I mean, that's my breakfast cereal. If you like things like ginger, add ginger, nutmeg. If you are into other types of flavors that you think can go into your breakfast cereal, perfect. It's very simple. I keep it in a container closed in the fridge and I eat it every day during Passover. Like I might put this in a bowl for breakfast and then I might put my almond milk over it. A little like porridge, a little like oatmeal where you put some milk into it. It's as simple as that. So those are my building blocks. Now, my third one, which is quinoa. I'm going to set this aside. Now I'm going to make my savory quinoa. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? I have pre-cooked quinoa. And to my quinoa, this is where your variety, you can make 1 portion, 2 portions, 3 portions, 5 portions. You can, if you're living alone, you know, you think you're going to eat it 3 times during Passover, make that portion. These are recipes that have no quantities, that are perfectly suitable for the number of people you're feeding, which may only be yourself. My husband wouldn't get near quinoa, so I'm always feeding myself quinoa. But because I eat it every day, I'll have at least 2 cups, probably make it again during the week or make the 4 cups finished right off the bat. So I start with quinoa. And to it today, I have added cut parsley, fresh crunchy vegetables. So I've got celery and carrots in there. And I'm going to dig into my roasted vegetables and my schmaltz. My building blocks once again. I'm going to take a generous portion to taste of my roasted veg. Looks so good. And a little bit of schmaltz for fun and flavor. And at this point, you can add other herbs. Let me put my schmaltz in so I know I have it. There we go. It doesn't have to be a lot. And I'm picking up a lot of the chunky vegetables at the same time. Definitely to taste. And now I have my herbs out. I think in addition, oh, by the way, put in caramelized onions and caramelized garlic. And I want to take a few moments to talk about how to properly caramelize onions. And that is another food I suggest you prepare early in the holiday and use it throughout the holiday. I slice up maybe 3 medium, good sized medium onions. I put it in a large skillet. I drizzled it well with olive oil again, but you could use canola oil, some salt and pepper, and I cook it on medium-high heat. Don't cook it too low. It's going to kind of cook, but it won't caramelize. You want these onions to pick up loads of color, deep golden brown. Somewhere on my table, I've got some deep golden brown. It will smell wonderful and add so much flavor to everything. So I keep a big old container in my fridge, and I use it for everything I happen to prepare during the week that, it might go with.
Risa,
Yeah.
Dina wants to know, what was the liquid that you added to the savory quinoa?
Broth. Yeah. Yeah. And you will see, hopefully you all can access the recipes for download. Vegetable broth. If you wish, you could use chicken broth. I think broth enhances, thank you for the question. I think broth enhances the flavor versus putting in water. So in here are my vegetables, my fresh vegetables, my roasted vegetables, a little bit of schmaltz, vegetable broth. I'm gonna go check my recipe. I haven't left anything out. At this point, you can also take it away from the carb spectrum and add diced up chicken, leftover pieces of brisket, sauteed ground beef, sauteed ground chicken. You can cheese. You can change this from a carb side dish to a main course. Because it's already a main course, because quinoa I found this really interesting fact. Quinoa is 16% protein in its dry state, and it is a complete food, essential food, complete protein. It contains all essential amino acids. It's an excellent food. So of course it's already partly a protein, but I would suggest you can make it even better by putting in the meat or the dairy of your choice, and it would be delicious. So
Risa,
let's see. Yes.
we have another question. Gail Weiss wanted to know, would the convection oven allow more than one pan in the oven?
No. I have a small convection oven over here. I use one at work, and I think there is no perfect oven except for this process. It just takes you to have to put in one sheet pan at a time. Of course, you can practice all you want. I got my friend, Mr. Air Fryer over here. I love my air fryer. And it works a little similar to convection oven. Oh, by the way, I love chestnuts. All during Passover, it goes into all my food. It has a nice texture. I was going to say nutty. When people can't describe something, they always say, oh, it tastes like nuts. It's not really, but it's kind of gummy. It's kind of potatoey. It's a texture item. Oh, I've already bought 4 pouches. So that's the side. Yeah.
Anytime you're ready to let me go.
All right. It's a perfect stopping point. I mix it all together. I was going to say, I could tell you know that I've just put in basil. I'm going to put a little oregano in. I already have my parsley. And now I have my side dish, my quinoa side dish. And although I don't use much salt, I'm going to sprinkle some salt. And for cooking, I use kosher salt. For baking, I use table salt. Because most baked recipes don't have enough liquid in them to dissolve that salt. And I taste it. When I bite into a cookie using kosher salt, I taste it. So for all my savory cooking, I'm only going to be using kosher. All right. I'm going to stop talking for a while, Barbara.
Okie doke. I'm going to go back and forth to you, Risa, because while the mixer is on, it might be too noisy. I'm going to try to talk over it. At any rate, we're going to do a jelly roll first. So I have separated all but 2 eggs, and I don't know if you can see That's the issue that I'm having a problem with. I don't know whether you can see, can you see my hands now?
Yes.
Okay, super. Okay, so when I separate eggs, I crack the egg on the plate, open it up. And I usually put it into another bowl, which I thought I had here, but I don't see it. At any rate, this calls for 6 separated eggs and 1 whole egg. So while I was separating, I messed up one of the eggs. So that went in as the whole egg, of course. And, you know, that happens. And you make do with what happens. At any rate, so you're going to do the eggs. So I have the whole egg, the egg yolks in there. And we're going to beat those egg yolks. I hope you can hear me over the mixer. We're going to beat those egg yolks, and I'm going to turn off I'm going to mute myself for a few minutes so that you can.
Barbara, we heard you just fine over the mixer.
Okay, so we do that, and then I want to show you this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, and the powdered sugar, the Passover powdered sugar is kind of so it says to sift the powdered sugar and to sift the potato starch. I'm not even sure I have a sifter anymore. This is my way of sifting. I don't know whether you can see this. Let me show you. My way of sifting is to put it into a large strainer and just mush it around. So that is, otherwise you can put it in your mixer in a dry bowl, and you can prep it early before you start to put your eggs in, and then you can have it all pulverized so that you don't have lumps in your batter. And that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid lumps in your batter. This recipe also makes a sponge cake in a 10-inch tube pan. You use the exact same recipe, and you put it in an ungreased tube pan. I have to tell you that all of us who purport to be pretty good cooks, chefs, whatever, we have mistakes and we have problems. So I'm here in Florida now, and I moved with most of my things from the kitchen, and my 2 pans are probably 50 some years old, maybe 60 some years old. And they are a little out of kilter. At least I wasn't sure about it. So the last time I used a tube pan for a different cake, for a sour cream coffee cake, I put some foil around the bottom of the insert for the tube. And that kept the batter from leaking out. Barbara wasn't so smart this time. And I made a sponge cake. The batter didn't leak on my counter, but as I moved it to the oven, I was getting drips and spattering. So I put the pan inside a 9-inch pan, and of course, half the batter ran out. So I had a sponge cake that looked about like that. So that was the end of the sponge cake. I shared it with some neighbors and put a little bit of lemon curd over it, and they were very happy. It tasted good, it was fine, but it was not the high sponge cake that I expect. Okay, so I finished doing that, and I'm gonna add this to the eggs.
You know, your your story about the sponge cake, I could imagine you ripping up those little sponge cake into pieces with the lemon curd and putting it in a nice decorative glass, a little
Sure,
whipped cream.
making a trifle. Absolutely, Scott. Good suggestion. Yeah,
Trifle's always a good thing with desserts that fail but still taste good.
right.
Absolutely.
Sure. No question. Okay, so you put the sugar in and you continue to beat the eggs, and you want to get it so that it looks kind of lemony color, not real yellow like the eggs are, but more lemon color. And then while that's doing, I'm zesting. I need some zest. About a tablespoon of it. And I'm zesting the lemon. I did most of it. And
We can't see your hands.
Good. Can you set it down, Barbara? Like you had it before, it was perfect.
For those of you who don't have a zester, you can always take a peeler, you know, a carrot peeler, a potato peeler, and you can peel off the outer layer.
Can you show us how you're doing that, Barbara?
Just letting her stop talking for a sec. Barbara, we no longer can see what your hands are doing. Can you adjust your camera? Beautiful, fabulous. Thank you so much.
Okay, very good. So that's the zesting. And we're gonna put that in. Sure we are. Spatula would be good. Okay, we're gonna put the zest in. It looks like about the right quantity. I didn't measure it, but it's not an issue. And then, okay, this is a half of a lemon. It should be enough. I'm gonna pop this in the microwave for about 20 seconds.
I think it was 25, but there's more since then.
Pop that in the microwave for 20 seconds or 30 seconds. If you do a whole lemon, you can do it in the microwave for 30 seconds. And it should give you double the amount of juice that you would normally get if you removed it
6.
unmicrowaved. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? Just putting the juice in here. And we will mix that.
Mom, move your camera a little bit to the right. Just so that we can see the mixer more. Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And then we're gonna add the potato starch, 3/4 of a cup of potato starch. And again, I am going to put it in the strainer to make sure that there aren't any lumps. The potato starch is pretty well.
Fine, yeah.
Yeah, it holds up pretty well. And so why it said to sift it twice, I can't imagine, because there are really no lumps. I mean, I have to tell you that we never talk about where these recipes came from. But this particular recipe that are in the cookbook, this particular recipe came from my mother-in-law, Eve Wasser, who was not really the best baker, cook, or whatever, but she did have some recipes that were wonderful. And I have always used this one. I find it really works. I've never tried another one. And I'm happy with the results. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let you go back to Risa for a couple minutes. And I'm gonna continue to beat this up. I'll show you what it looks like. I'm gonna start beating the egg whites, and then I will fold them in and show you how that works, okay?
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so go ahead, Rita.
Barbara. Keep
Go
up
ahead.
the good work.
Yeah,
All right, well, while we were watching Barbara, I took the liberty of filling, I'm going to try to get you to see this, filling acorn squash shells with my savory quinoa mixture. I cut the acorn squash, what I would call horizontally. Some people would say that's not, but so there's a nice cavity size in there, looks like a star. And I par cooked. You have to par cook because acorn squash, as you know, takes a bit of time to cook, even in the half versus putting it on a sheet pan full. I cooked the acorn squash at about 400, 425. I drizzled it slightly with olive oil. I salted and peppered it, and I let it go. And actually, I made these in my air fryer, but I do use oil in my air fryer to get the oil, that flavor that comes from using oil, into my food. Even though you don't need to, I do use some. I par cooked it so that it was fork tender, but not mushy. Now I filled it with that quantity of quinoa that I just made, the savory. And what I'm going to do later is put it back in the oven, made at the higher temp, probably at 375, to kind of finish cooking the shells, and get the quinoa nice and heated hot, maybe 15 minutes, and I'll pull it out. And then it's all set, all done. And when I feel like having one as a side dish, I don't have to put it back in the oven necessarily. I just put it in my microwave, heat it through, and enjoy it.
Risa, can you give us a close-up of that? Any way you can get that just a little closer to your camera?
Absolutely. I got my tech guy on it.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, folks,
Thank
when you talked about the star, I wanted to see it. It's so beautiful. Now, did you have to pre-cook the shells a little bit before you put the stuffing in, or?
Well, as I was saying, I pre-cooked the shells at 425 till it's fork tender. I drizzle it with some olive oil always, and salt and pepper, put it in there until it's fork tender. Then I pull it out. It's par baked. It does not have to go all the way soft and mushy. Then I feel it, then to finish it off, you could leave it at this, and then just as it is, and let's say you've got your meal ready to serve in maybe a half an hour. How long does it take to get fork tender? I did it in my air fryer this time, and I believe it took 12 to 15 minutes. I think if I did it in the oven, it would probably take closer to 20 or so, somewhere on that, on 375 oven, perhaps somewhere in there. Certainly not 5 or 10 minutes, double that, I would think. So let's say I have my meal, I'm gonna put some chicken in the oven. I would probably finish these off cooking when I start up my dinner, because I know I'll finish baking that squash and get a nice hot on my quinoa filling in an oven in maybe 15 minutes. So you don't have to keep taking it, putting it in, taking it out, putting it in, taking it out. And microwave would finish it as well. So that's the savory quinoa. Now I'm going to show you one of my favorite spreads for all year round. It uses, obviously, as I promised, it's going to use some of my roasted vegetables. This is something I found a couple years ago. It's a mushroom, onion, cashew. I call it dip. It's a spread. Put it on matzah. Put it on matzah crackers. You can put a dollop of it, or, a quantity of it with a hard-boiled egg left over from the Staters. It's equal parts of roasted mushrooms. These mushrooms have to be put in the oven, prepared like you would your roasted vegetables. So make plenty of it when you make your roasted vegetables. Have extra mushrooms set aside, roasted and ready to go. I think it was a cup. My recipe says a cup. It can be any quantity. It can be half a cup of each one. If you don't want as much as it makes, bring the recipe down. Take a quarter of it, but it wouldn't be very much. It freezes great. It keeps in your fridge for a very long time, so it's not that perishable. Equal parts of roasted cashews. I put cashews in a 375-degree oven. Gosh, for about 6 to 8 minutes. I could smell them. I knew they were just right. If you smell them and they smell burnt, not so much. When you toast nuts, as soon as you smell the nut oils and starting to smell nice, they're done. Take them out. No oil necessary. So equal parts of roasted cashew, equal parts, that would be a cup of caramelized onions, a cup of roasted mushrooms, and some fresh parsley. And I'm putting everything in my processor at one time. So what I'm going to do right now, it's very fast. I kind of call it vegetarian, hummus, but you could call it Passover hummus. It has that texture. It's a bit wetter, but it's a spread. It's a dip. It's a veggie dip. You can serve it at your Seder. I serve it at the Seder after the Seder symbols are done or into the meal. I always have appetizers. It reminds me of vegetarian chopped liver. It's really what it is, but the difference is it uses mushrooms, cashews, and onions, equal parts. So it doesn't have other things in it that a veggie liver might have. I'm going to check my recipe. I said everything. And a bit of salt and pepper. Because I salt and pepper my vegetables, I'm not going to salt and pepper it until I taste it. It's going to be quick. I'm going to pulse it until it's all like a spread. Almost done. I'm not looking to get it like pate unless that's what you like. I like texture. So I like it kind of coarser with texture. It's wonderful. Now, what's the variation? It's fabulous this way. I'll taste it later so I don't take your time. But I'm going to toss in some roasted vegetables, a spoonful of them. It's only going to help that taste along. So it's the whole mixture of different types of roasted vegetables. I'd say I put in 3/4 of a cup. I'm going to just break it up a little bit on a pulse. I still kind of want to see them, but I don't want them to be so chunky that I have to use a fork. That's it. Once you make this, you're going to make it over and over again. It's just fabulous. It looks a lot like chopped liver. So that's that recipe. Are there any questions about that recipe? I'm going to make something in this mixer bowl, in this processor bowl. Right after this, I'm going to do the next recipe. I don't need to clean it. The recipes use similar ingredients, and the wonderful taste of this. Whoops. The wonderful taste of this should be imparted in the next recipe. What's the next recipe? It's another building block. It's kishka filling, but I'm not asking you to make kishka. I call it kishka filling because it tastes a lot like kishka. There's my spread. I'm going to put it over to the side. Right. So I'm hopping over to what I call my recipe number 5. Barbara, you let me know when I need to stop, but I'm going to try to finish this one. All right. This one I'm going to demo the whole thing. But the whole thing goes into the processor. so it's no big deal. I have peeled. Let me get my garbage out of the way. I have already peeled sweet potatoes. I have gotten my carrots ready. You want sweet, you want kishka type flavor that is sweet tasting without sugar. No sugar in here. Lots of sweet potatoes into the pool. Carrots, I think it says 2. Once again,
Risa,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
oh, okay. Barbara, I'm gonna word this, if that's okay, or is it critical I should stop? Tell
No,
me
go
what.
ahead, go ahead, finish doing
No,
what
I
you're doing.
don't want to mess anything up.
No, that's okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna be fast. Actually, what I'll do is after I tell you all about it, I can finish it, we'll go on mute. All right, in here I put, I'll read it to you for you to get the flavor profile. Sweet potatoes, plenty, that's 3 large, and 2 carrots, they're all cut in chunks, so that the processor doesn't have to work so hard. It doesn't have to be diced fine. It has celery, onions, of course, and I'm going to use caramelized onions. But fresh onions that are sauteed, you'll see garlic, onions, sauteed, same thing as my caramelized onions. In there, I'm going to add the parsley. Those ingredients are going into the bowl of my processor. I'm gonna do that while Barbara takes up over again, and then I'll meet you back to put it all together.
Okay, I have whipped the egg whites and I want to show you, if you can see, that they should be stiff so that they can get folded in to the egg yolk mixture. So this is what they should look like, okay? So usually when I fold in, I put about 1/3 of the egg whites in first and gently fold the egg whites into, I don't know whether you can see that.
We see you just fine. You can put it back down on the counter.
Okay,
There
Good.
you go.
okay.
Yep.
Do another 1/3. So you want to just fold until you don't see any whites. And what that does is that makes the batter light and fluffy so that it makes like a sponge. I'm using an 12 by 18 sheet pan. It's called a half a sheet pan. And because this doesn't get very high. And it becomes easy to roll. So I have sprayed the pan. And I have put a piece of parchment on the pan. And then I sprayed the parchment again. So I will pour this batter into the pan.
That
Can you
looks
see-
great. We see
can
it
you see it?
perfectly.
Can
Yeah,
you see- Oh,
see
super.
the whole pan and your bowl and your hands. You can still see the yellow of the coloring. It's
Right.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, if you don't have parchment, Barbara, you could just use the spray, but you recommend using the parchment.
I do, but if you don't,
It's really easier to take it out of there.
right,
And then you use the parchment to help roll.
correct.
So this is a recipe you really do want to have parchment paper.
It would be good. It would definitely be good.
I'm just
Okay.
thinking out loud for the peanut gallery.
Yes, I'm glad you are, Scott. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm just trying to smooth it out a little bit and make sure that it's level and even. Okay, I'm gonna put this in the oven and we're gonna go back to Risa. And I will come back to you as soon as
Okay.
it comes out of the oven, and we'll show you how to roll it. And then I have some that I made yesterday and some other things that I made and show you how to plate it, etc. And then I'll talk about the lemon curd. I'm not going to demonstrate the lemon curd. I don't think my back will let me stir today, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. It came out wonderful, tastes delicious, and I will tell you how to make it. Okay, go back to Risa, and I will be back to you.
And just finishing up, processing all the ingredients. I did it in batches so that my processor won't hate me. And I have just finished. Whoops. In here, I processed carrots, sweet potatoes, parsley, garlic, caramelized onions. And I even threw in a couple baked potatoes, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Let me see what else I have. It's all in my recipe, parsley, and the rest of the ingredients. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff that I don't need anymore, so the picture will be better. And the rest of the ingredients, I'm just going to throw in. And I'm going to, this has, of all the recipes, this one has the most ingredients. And I want to make certain I don't leave anything out. Of course, I'm going to put in a big old spoonful of my roasted vegetables. Not worrying about harvesting them. I'm going to leave them like this. Also, what goes in here, according to this quantity in the recipe, 2 cups of matzo meal. And if you'll notice, this is one of the few recipes I'm showing you today that actually uses a matzo product. So many of these recipes are completely gluten-free. And I did that on purpose too. I am not going to put an egg in, but I highly recommend that you do. And I'm not going to put an egg in because I'm feeding 2 vegan daughters. So this is not for Passover. Obviously, I'm not set up for Passover in my kitchen, but I'm going to be traveling to see them and my new grandson very soon. And they'll eat this any time of the day or the year, Passover or not. So I'm going to freeze everything I make. I'm going to show you what I do with this filling. I'm going to freeze everything and give it to them. So I'm going to avoid using the egg. So I have potatoes, celery, carrots, onions, caramelized, garlic, roasted veg, matzo meal, parsley, not an egg, salt, pepper, paprika, very important. The taste you get from kishka really comes from a generous portion of paprika. About a tablespoon. Gotta salt it. We'll salt the taste. Definitely gotta salt it. Gotta pepper it. So I'm visiting the girls, but not for Passover. It's just Larry and I for Passover this year, like most of you. And the last ingredient, of course, is I'm putting in vegetable schmaltz. How much vegetable schmaltz? When I stir it together, I'll know. I'm going to start with taking some of those yummy vegetables that are in the vegetable schmaltz. And then I'm going to add some of the liquid, the oil parts, and mix it all together. I usually mix it with prep gloves. 1 sec. Much easier for me to dig into it. So I put my prep gloves on and I mix it up well. At this point, this mixture can be put in a casserole dish and baked. Or at this point, you want to do what you did with the quinoa, add some brisket, add some chicken, add some ground beef, add anything. You could add tuna, salmon, and you would have quite a complete meal. I would suggest that it gets baked. So I'm going to stop right here to save some time and to show you, I'll do this later, to show you what I've done with this mixture, how versatile it is. I'm going to set this aside. Take off my gloves. I took this mixture. Oh, I'm going to need some of it. I just realized. And I made a number of things from it. For instance, see how you can see it best. Oh, I got so much kitchen cleanup. I filled mushrooms. I par-baked mushrooms, not fully baked through, cooked through and tender, par-baked. I filled them. And to finish them, they'll go back in the oven to all get nice, wonderful, and sizzly. That's one thing I did. I also filled green peppers, and red peppers. And then all can go in their oven at the same time. It can be your vegetable side dish for one of your meals during Passover, if not your Seder. Then I took part of the mixture. Oh, I'm on it. Rolled it into meatballs. These are vegetable meatballs with no egg, because I plan to take them to my vegan daughters. That's when you need the egg. This egg is going to help you, help this mixture stay together better after it's baked into a salad. It's amazingly versatile. The one I'm really proud of that I want to show you is making eggplant rotini with this mixture. Oh, by the way, I won't take the time now. I par-roasted portobello mushrooms, and I will fill them with the mixture, same thing. And I actually think it would be really nice to sprinkle cheese over the top of these, a Parmesan, whatever you like. And when you put them in, finish your cooking, which might be another 10, 12 minutes, then sprinkle some cheese on top, put it back in the oven to melt. These to be like little portobello mushroom pieces. Very nice. But I want to show you the eggplant and how I did that. This is the finished dish. I rolled the mixture in eggplants, slices that were par-baked, so they're flexible. They didn't get crispy, but I can bend them like a noodle. Then I lined single file these little rotinis in a casserole dish, and I topped it with tomato sauce and put it in the oven and baked it. You can go ahead and sprinkle it with cheese to make it kind of a lasagna kind of a thing, or an eggplant parm kind of a thing, or you can leave it as a parm side dish. But this is how I rolled it. I cut it two different ways. First way is the traditional way in discs and rolled the mixture. But I think another fun way is to take your eggplant, cut the ends off of it, cut it in half, and then cut your slices horizontally, so that you get longer pieces for rolling. Roll a couple for you. Can you see? Are you able to see? Yes. I take one. I take a small amount of my mixture. I set it inside one side and I roll. I roll it up. Again, I've par cooked these how long? In my air fryer, they took about 8 minutes, but they're pretty soft. That's what you want. Take some of my mixture. I haven't mixed it all fully, but I'll take some for the sake of demo. Put it on one side and roll it. And there you got another one. So you line them up just like that. I'll do one more. If I use the disc shape, the big ones work the best. I take my mixture, and actually with a big surface, you can use more, and I roll it. Same way. They may be a little more open face, and then cover with tomato sauce. That'll be good. And like I say, almost everything I'm showing you can have a meat or dairy variation if you add meat or dairy to it. Otherwise, it's par. How you doing, Barbara? Can I keep talking? Yeah. I'm going to show you something really quick, which is a real favorite. I've been making this for years for Passover, and then of course, in between. It's the biggest nothing dish. It's quick. You can have it done in probably as long as it takes to bake a potato. This is what I call, you'll check your recipes. And this is the sweet potato mash with OJ, cinnamon, and of course the veggie variation. I bake sweet potatoes, I mashed them, and I'm pouring, how many sweet potatoes? It was 3 large ones. I pouring in about half a cup of orange juice. And I created and cinnamon. And I mash it together. You can microwave it to heat it whenever you want it as a side dish. You got something to start with. You can also add roasted vegetables to it. So it has your vegetable component and your starch on a meal. If you want, you can whip it with your mixer so it's nice and fluffy. And also you can put in diced fresh fruit for some texture, or diced dry fruit. And of course, toasted nuts. Very quick, very easy. Make it for one person, 1 sweet potato, little orange juice, cinnamon, all done. That's the mash. Very easy. And I'm going to ask Barbara where she is. I have one more recipe. Barbara, are you with me? She's not hearing. Here she comes.
Yeah, it's just coming out of the oven now, so
Shall we wait for you?
you go ahead and do your other recipe. I need to let it sit for 2 minutes.
This is my last recipe. It's another fast one. The only thing I want to say about this recipe is it does make quite a few portions. So if you are 1 or even 2, you can cut it up and freeze it in sections, in portions, like 2 portions at a time, 4 portions, whatever it might be. It freezes just fine. It's quick and easy. I've been making it for years. You start with a potato / pancake kugel mix. Dump it in the bowl. This particular mix has 2 pouches. That's fine. It's a dairy item. It is meant to be a side dish, but also it would be great because of the dairy in it. Be very nice with the tossed salad. Some roasted vegetables on the side. Or a little piece of salmon, a little piece of fish, in addition to the dairy that's in it. I'm going to get my recipe so I get it right. 3 eggs beaten. So there's my mixture in the bowl. Oh, running out of stuff. Beating up the eggs just a bit. Throw it into the pool. None of the recipes today are difficult. They're really very, very easy. None of the recipes for savory. All right, then 2 cups of water. Here we go, 2 cups of water. Throw it in. The directions will tell you to get to a certain point, wait for it to thicken up. It's not necessary to do that until the end. A pound of cottage cheese. And I believe the measurement is 3/4 of a cup of sour cream. Throwing it in the pool. Throw it in, throw it in, throw it in. Obviously, I will not be giving this recipe finished to my vegan daughters. That will not work for them at all. It's got everything wrong with it. Okay, here we are. And I'm going to put the cottage cheese in there. Dump, 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 dump. Make sure you start with a big enough bowl. All right. Off we go. Now.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, I'm almost done.
Okay,
Really close to being finished. I'm looking for the final page. Hello, hello, hello. Missing a page. Oh my goodness. Larry will find it. Is it on the kitchen table? Isn't that a shame? I'm gonna mix it up. I think that's all it is. Yeah,
I don't know what's.
I'll find it. You know who makes this all the time? I'll embarrass her if Shelley Altman's still here. No. That is crazy. She's the one, after I lost track of the recipe some time ago, she sent it back to me.
Not this one.
No, that's all right. I think I've got everything in there. I'm going to mix it all up. And just to say that this is the basic recipe, and I already have the need to make a variation. So it must be well mixed. I'm going to talk about this and finish it after we're done, but very well mixed. I'm going to mix it now well enough so that it has an opportunity to sit like it's meant to. And I'll cook it after we're done with this class. Anyways, we'll consult your recipe so you have everything in there. My variation. So I'm going to put in some chopped spinach. So I'm all about vegetables. Some roasted mushrooms, just some. And some parsley. Parsley brightens up everything. And I mix it together. And there you go. For some reason, the bottom part of my recipe is missing, and I think that's all of it. But that's what you do. Mix it well. Let it sit in that bowl for quite a while. It should get thick like a potato mixture, potato pancake mixture does. Put it in a casserole dish. Consult your recipe as to size. I think it's an 8x8, perhaps 9x9 would work as well. And it bakes great. And I think I'm done. Ready for you, Barbara.
okay. So this came out of the oven and you want to bake it until it pulls away from the side. And then I ran a knife around the edges, and then you very carefully will unmold it. Okay, is it coming out? Yes. Okay, you very carefully unmold it on.
Mom, move your camera to the right a little bit more.
Better?
Yeah, and a little bit up if you can, so people can see the whole thing. There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, so I
just want to reiterate, without the parchment paper, that never would have happened.
That's correct. You need that parchment to help it along.
Yeah, you do. Okay, so we'll take the parchment off here. And I unmolded it, I undid it on a damp towel that was covered with parchment paper and sprinkled with a combination of potato starch and confectioner's sugar.
All right, just as a reminder, Mom, just point to the towel there in front of you. You put the towel down, and then you put a new piece of parchment down, and you sprinkled that with the cornstarch, and then you put the...
It's not cornstarch, it's potato starch, because it's cornstarch is not for Pesach. It's potato starch and confectioner's sugar mixed together.
Thank you. Perfect.
Sometimes when I roll out rugula, I roll it on a mixture of flour and confectioner's sugar. And so I've been doing that for a lot of years. Okay, so can you see me at all?
Yeah.
Yes, you're
Yep, we
cutting
can see you.
halfway through. It looks fabulous.
Okay,
And-
so I'm gonna cut this down the center.
Risa, there's a question for you while Barbara's cutting. Can you
Okay,
use reduced fat sour cream or cottage
Absolutely.
cheese in your recipe? Absolutely, she says.
You
Thank you.
can. If you
Eileen,
find.
Ellen,
when
did you hear that?
open- Scott, if you find when you open it up, it tends to be watery, more watery than you want it, I would drain it. Some of those reduced fat items, they have more water in them, or they tend to be more watery. And you don't want water that's not part of the recipe, extra liquid that's not accounted for in a recipe. So if you find it's a little wet, let's get rid of the top wet, both on the sour cream and the cottage cheese. You absolutely can. It's an excellent question.
Thank you, Risa. Back to you, Barb.
Okay, I am spreading one half of this with lemon curd, and I'll tell you about making lemon curd in a minute. You can see how gorgeous it is. It's just fabulous, tastes delicious. And the other is with a mixed berry preserves. I'm spreading this on here. And then we will roll it up very carefully. And then I'll
Looks
show you.
delicious.
Well, I'll show you what it looks like after it's been chilled. I put yesterday's in the freezer so that it's easier to cut if it's frozen. And then this morning I made another recipe in the sheet pan. And you remember how, I don't know whether you all remember 7-layer cakes. Some of the New York bakeries were very big on 7-layer cakes for Passover. And when we used to have Seders in New York at my sister-in-law's, they always had a 7-layer cake from one of the kosher bakeries.
Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
Sharon wants to know, can you do just the lemon, or do you need the preserves to make it stick together?
No, the lemon should work fine. Lemon works.
So do you do 2 flavors in yours, but she's asking, can she just do 1 flavor? Is that how I'm understanding the
Absolutely.
question?
Oh,
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Yeah, as you like it. You can also make chocolate roll,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
which I think you're going to do later.
so, okay. So, all right, we're gonna roll this up. It's not easy to roll. You have to pick it up and very carefully roll. Using the parchment lets you have a good start.
And if you use the towel there, you can use the towel just to push down the beginning as you start to roll. Use the towel and pull it towards you, Mom, like you're gonna. Yep.
Well, I did, but it's,
Yeah, and that's beautiful.
doesn't want to remove from the parchment. It's what my problem is at the moment. Okay, here we go.
So, Mom, can you just slide everything, the paper and your body just left? Because we can't see your arm. There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, that's very good. Good view.
Okay. Come on. Just a little sticky.
You just have to be gentle with those. Take your time. Don't try to rush it. It'll
Correct.
come.
Yeah, well, it's just like when we did the rolling for the vodka, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful. Okay, so we're gonna do like that. And I will do the other one. And while I'm doing it, I will talk to you about the
Mom, there's a question about, is it easier to roll if it's chilled? And I'm gonna say the answer is absolutely no.
right, it has to be warm.
If it's cold, it'll crack and you'll end up making a parfait with it.
It needs to be warm. You can use that parchment paper to push it along too.
Yeah.
You're doing great, Barbara. Yeah, lots of patience.
It's
Sticky.
it's sticking to the,
Could one also roll it with a little bit of like granulated sugar down that might help it roll a little bit?
not hearing the question.
Like if you put a little sugar down, which is not
Yeah,
salt,
I have sugar and sugar and potato starch.
granulated or powdered.
Okay, so the rolls are done, okay? Now, let me show you. Let me show
Looks
you
good.
what I need to wash my hands. I apologize for that. There's no way for me to handle anything without doing that. Okay, let me talk a little bit about the lemon curd. The lemon curd recipe that we first put in the link, I was not happy with them. There were two there and I was unhappy with both of them. So I did some more search and did some more playing and made lemon curd on Friday and was absolutely thrilled with it. You didn't have to separate the eggs. And I tried to do it in the microwave thinking that would work because it was recommended that way on several sites. Stirring, they don't say to, but I stirred every 30 seconds, but I was still not happy with it. But I used a pot like this and a wire whisk. And I put everything in here the way the recipe tells you to, in the sequence that the recipe says to. And then I put it on I think on 5 on my stove, on my electric stove, which was slightly less than medium. And I put the timer on for 10 minutes because I was told that it should be done in 10 minutes. So, and it should be done before it starts to boil, 170 degrees, and before it comes to a boil. At 8 minutes, I got a first pucker of a boil. So I said, okay, has to be done. And I took it off. the result was wonderful. So you can use this on ice cream. You can use this to fill a jelly roll. You can use it to embellish a slice of cake. Lemon curd can be used in many ways. You can hold this in the refrigerator for 1 week. If you have left, or if you don't want to keep it all, I would take half of this and put it in the freezer. It freezes just fine. So I think lemon curd is something that this is so much better than the purchased lemon curd that you get. Okay, these are the rolls I made on Friday. And they are still frozen. So of course, when they're frozen, they're fine.
Easy to slice it when they're frozen.
Right, that much easier to slice it when it's frozen.
That's what she's going to be telling us. Yep, and you're absolutely right, Scott.
So we'll take a slice of this one. And we'll take a slice of this one.
Gail wants to know if the same recipe, I assume you're talking about curd. Barbara, may I have people contact you for the new curd recipe?
I'm not hearing you, I'm sorry.
All right, there's a request from Gail, or
Yeah.
a question about whether that recipe is in the Zoom link, and I'm assuming she's might be talking about the new lemon curd that you've discovered. And
Correct. The jelly roll recipe is in the
Thank you.
Zoom link. Yep,
no,
so,
Barbara,
yeah,
Barbara, the new lemon curd that you just come up with that works great. That is not on the Passover link, is that correct?
that is correct, but
So,
maybe we can put it in somehow.
no, Barbara, what I'm asking is what anyone who might be interested in it, could they contact you?
Sure, it's on my Barb's Kosher Kitchen Facebook group.
Right, but there might be people who are not.
Yeah, on Facebook.
not.
You can be in touch with me. But
Gail, it might be just easier if you contact Barbara, okay? So it's Barb Wass, BARBWASS, correct?
at gmail.com.
At Gmail. Feel free, anybody who would like that new recipe for the lemon curd, just contact Barbara. She'd be happy to send it to you.
So this would make a very nice dessert for your Seder. You could sprinkle a little powdered sugar on it if you wanted to, but it's really not necessary. So this makes a very attractive plate for your Seder. And then, as I said, I made another one just in the sheet pan, and I cut it to make a chocolate six layer cake.
Ma, can you just put that where the jelly roll is? Just slide your jelly roll to the left and put it right there,
Sure.
if you can.
Yeah, I can.
That's so nice, Barb.
So, and let me
Just leave it flat on the table. Don't raise it up. Oh, yeah.
well,
I'm sorry. I was wrong. Yes, look at that beautiful layering.
It's a beautiful thing. Save me a piece.
So,
Gorge.
so that will be lovely. Another way that you can do that. Anyone have any more questions?
Just before you, at some point, Mom, when Risa is talking, can you just put in your Facebook page link into the chat box? Can you type that in for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
Also, Risa, I will ask Jack if he can.
Why don't you work it out? Barbara, we'll
Yeah.
work it out. Yeah,
Well, maybe we can get the recipe on there is what I'm saying.
right. We'll work that out. We have
Mom, a question
Barbara.
came in from
Barbara?
Sharon about what you use to make the chocolate filling for your,
Well, the chocolate filling, the chocolate filling was a jar of chocolate, whatever, that I bought last Pesach and never used. It sat on the shelf all this time. So I decided to use it for this. It was silly not to, since I'm not going to be here for Passover. So I decided to use it for this. I took it and I warmed it a little bit and I mixed it with avocado oil to get it to a little bit more of a spreading consistency.
What also could you do, Mom? Could you use a little of the avocado oil and the kosher chocolate chips and microwave it?
You could, and what you would get is more of a ganache that you then would pour over, like you'd pour
It
over
would
the
get,
top.
and then it would harden. It would harden.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Right.
Yeah, you could cool
Yeah.
it in the
Yeah,
fridge.
that would work too. Okay, you want me to put in the chat?
Would chocolate pudding be good to use? The question is. On
What?
top. The question
what?
is, would chocolate pudding be good to use?
Do they make Passover pudding?
No, I don't think it would be firm enough.
I don't either. Yeah, I agree.
But a chocolate frosting, if you
But
had
as a filling, chocolate pudding would be a nice
yeah,
filling. instead
a
of the
chocolate
lemon pudding.
frosting, a chocolate frosting would be fine. You know, one that you would use on a cake.
And don't forget, you can always use our tried and true recipe for chocolate ganache dip, and that's a cup of chocolate chips to a tablespoon of oil melted together. And you can use that. That's also the cookbook. 1 cup of chocolate chips, 1 tablespoon of canola oil, veggie oil, and melt it down, stir it up nice and smooth, and you can cover with that and it will harden.
Yep,
Another
yep,
choice.
that would work well too.
All right, Barbara, do you want to sum up and say goodbye to all?
Yeah, I would. Thanks all for coming. I really appreciate it. It was great seeing some of you that I haven't seen in a while. Even like my children and grandchildren who are on. Sam, Max, and Marion, I think we're all on. Okay, I put Barb's Kosher Kitchen on Facebook.
right.
That's a group that I started when I started doing some online teaching, and you'll be asked, I'll be asked if I can accept you, and then you'll get accepted, and if you join, then you can go down, you can see the recipes that have been posted. And you can comment and whatever you'd like. So thank you all for coming. Thanks, Risa and Larry Routenberg, for getting this started and inviting me to join you. It's been fun, and we'll
It's
have
been
to
great.
we'll have to do it
It's been
again.
fun. Wishing everybody a happy and meaningful Passover. Hope that you find some recipes that speak to you, that you might attempt during the holiday or all year round. And everybody stay safe and be well.
Right. Well, my vegetarian grandchildren in Germany probably will be very happy with those recipes, Risa.
Sounds great, Bob.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye to everybody. Thank you all for coming.
Season Pesach.
Season Pesach. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate it.